what are some of the greatest learnings that you would share with us, or that you can look back on and say, wow, this really redefined how I approach business?
When we started, we didn't have access to mentors within the space that understood the type of product that we're trying to build, how we're trying to grow, and to really guide us in terms of how to hedge and how to structure the business such that we didn't experience some of the stumbles that we would have experienced going into it. And the realization of that and the acceptance that is where we are as a region is what made me start Tech Beach.
Okay, guys, are we ready? All right, showtime.
Hi everyone, I'm Karrian Hepburn Malcolm of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Service, and I'm excited. How many times am I going to say I'm excited? To be bringing to you the second episode of the Urpreneur. So this series is meant to interview entrepreneurs so that we can get some insights, get their story, understand what happens behind the scenes, offer some inspiration, some tips, some advice to you, our viewers. So let's jump right into it. We have with us today Kyle Maloney. I know Kyle as a serial entrepreneur. I know Kyle through several iterations of businesses, but I think what's trending for Kyle right now is ChefMade and Tech Beach, both of which he's a co-founder. So Kyle, you tell us more about those businesses.
All right. Thanks for having me here, Karrian. Tech Beach is a platform that we've built to bridge the gap in technology resources, in particular, between the major technology hubs of the world and the region. We have a lot of amazing people in our diaspora that are working at some of the best companies in the world, like Facebook, Twitter, Google, Apple, etc. And a lot of them have been asking the question, how can we contribute more to home, to the place that either our parents grew up and we identify with, or the place that we left when we were kids. And so we've built Tech Beach as that platform that really connects people between their major companies and some of the best companies across the region to really begin seeing a lot more resources transferring between both sort of networks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And ChefMade and ChefMade is about helping people eat healthy consistently. We deliver thousands of meals every month to hundreds of doors across the country, helping people to eat really healthy on a consistent basis.
So that took care of one of my misconceptions. I thought ChefMade only delivered within Port of Spain, and so today you told me no, like anywhere in Trinidad.
Yeah, just yesterday we had a delivery in Mayaro that we had to do. So
okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing that struck me, Kyle, I mean, I'm familiar with you in the tech space, but it shocked me when I heard how many Caribbean people were in those big companies that we are familiar with, the Googles and the Yahoos. And are there a lot of Caribbean people in those companies?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of people don't even know that we've been able to tap into some really amazing people across these companies. So like Twitter's global head of engineering, he's a Trinidadian guy. His family is from South, the Montano family from South. Twitter's global head of market research, she's Trinidadian as well. So we have a lot of Caribbean people. So, well, we know the Jamaicans. Jamaicans are like everywhere. You have a Jamaican in the White House. Yeah. We know in Trinidad we have Maxine at Facebook. So we have so many people, like in terms of support that we've gotten. The reason we got a major sponsorship from Google last year was because of Jamaican support that we were able to garner in Google. So that was amazing. And Jamaicans really rep their country, man, for sure. They're always excited to figure out ways in which they could participate and support in anything that's happening in the region.
Wow. So Kyle, you said that these companies have been expressing an interest in terms of doing stuff in the Caribbean and giving back, for want of a better word. Like, that blows my mind because of all the things that they could be doing and all the places that they could be diverting resources, the Caribbean. So like, what have some of those conversations been like, and what are some of the things they have done and are doing or looking forward to doing in the region?
Yeah. So I don't like the mind frame of give back because it makes us seem as though like we're some sort of charity case.
Yes, true.
All right. So the way that I've framed everything is in terms of opportunity. So we are the bridge of opportunity for people and companies. So we're able to connect some of the largest companies with some of the largest companies on the Silicon Valley side with some of the largest companies here, like a UTC, like a Republic, you know. And so we're opening the doors of communication and opportunity for companies in that way, as well as for individuals who want to take on what they would deem passion projects to help companies that are on the verge of being able to scale. So some early stage startup companies, one company in particular being a company called MD Link. MD Link is a telemedicine company that's based in Jamaica, but started by a Trinidadian who's covertly operates as Jamaican, but he's actually Trini. And on MD Link's advisory board is a Trinidadian guy who works at Google Health. And so I think that's been tremendous for him. And he's been able to go on and raise funding through the IDB, through connections that we've forged, helping him to raise that funding from the IDB for his company as well. And so what we're doing is just continuing to play that bridge between various types of opportunities that exist between companies on our side and companies on the other side, and individuals as well.
So since you touched on IDB, I saw some exciting news recently playing out on the media channels. You want to tell us some more about that? What's that all about?
So we've just launched, I believe it was last Thursday, the second pillar of Tech Beach. So Tech Beach's first pillar was built on summits. So what we did initially over the last 4 years was to bring together these people through a series of events that we've done, with the largest event being in Montego Bay, Jamaica, right? And so through that, a lot of the people have been asking, what next? How do you facilitate what happens next? How do we drive more engagement in the region? And so what we just launched is TBR Lab. TBR Lab is our education pillar that is focused on helping technology companies. So we partner with an accelerator program out of Toronto that is focused on bringing a lot of the resources that technology companies struggle with in the region, being mentorship, strong curriculum, access to finance, and access to partnerships with some of the large companies. We've partnered with this program called the DMZ to come to the region to be able to give those resources to companies within the region here so that they can begin expanding and growing beyond. And we don't only just have a WePay going regionally as the technology leader in this space, you know, so we want to see so many more companies expanding regionally and talking about opportunities globally to really move their companies out there. And so through this accelerator program with DMZ and in partnership with the IDB, we're really hoping that over the next 2 years, we can really begin seeing, our goal is to see at least 10 stars come out of our program.
So Kyle, I guess just to break it down for, anybody that might be watching and wondering, how do I become a part of this? So, obviously we see all of this exciting thing happening. And if I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, an existing entrepreneur, what does that really mean for me? How do I get into this program? How can I be considered for this program? How does this really affect me?
Yeah. Good questions. Wow. So we don't launch the application process until January next year. Mm-hmm. So what we did was just to launch the fact that we are about to do this program. Mm-hmm. And so in January, we'd have companies apply and we'd select based on companies that we feel are the cusp of winning. They're onto something and they need just that extra push to really get them to that next level. Mm-hmm. Because what we're putting in place as well is at the end of the program, opportunities for early stage investment. So early stage investment coming from grants from the IDB, investment companies throughout Jamaica and throughout the region, Trinidad, etc. And so we really want to have tell the story of those companies that are able to go forward and really win coming out of our program. And I think we're already seeing within Trinidad a few technology companies on the cusp really like out there. They've gotten their product market fit and they're onto something, and they just need that extra something to really get them to scale and have that sort of regional impact in ways that we have come to know with technology companies internationally. So, for example, in Trinidad, we have the TT rideshare that a lot of people utilize, and I know that they're doing well for an early stage company. We have another food delivery company like Food Drop, so we have a few companies locally that are doing their thing, but they don't have the additional resources that people in your San Francisco or in your New York or in your Miami take for granted that they readily have more access to than what we have here.
So Kyle, I know you through several businesses and several iterations of entrepreneurship, and I'm sure there's been lots of learnings. What are some of the greatest learnings that you would share with us, or that you can look back on and say, wow, this really redefined how I approach business?
Yeah. That's a really good question. In my second company, which is called First, and a lot of people would have known me from First, because we would have gotten early stage investment from Digicel, and then we'd have done a lot of marketing around it, and we'd have grown quite quickly and become like one of the most known technology companies in the region in that way. One of the main reasons it didn't work out, like without getting into some of the details, I don't know if we have time to get into it, but without getting into some of the details, is that we lacked an enabling environment for young technology companies like that to grow. So when we started, we didn't have access to mentors within the space that understood the type of product that we're trying to build, how we're trying to grow, and to really guide us in terms of how to hedge and how to structure the business such that we didn't experience some of the stumbles that we would have experienced going into it. The next thing too is that in how we structured our growth, we were working on trying to get a follow-on funding, right? Well, we know that in this region, capital for these ventures is really hard to come by. And so that was really tough for us to get on a second go. And so realizing that missing piece of the environmental factors that really help the company grow and thrive, that not too many people put focus on. They place so much focus on the lack of access to capital that the reality is that what is really missing, even that is even more important than that, is the access to education, the access to mentors, the access to networks. That is the enabling environment that would help these companies grow quickly. And the realization of that and the acceptance that is where we are as a region is what made me start Tech Beach. Yeah. And so that being my biggest learning, and now seeing the success that we've been able to garner through Tech Beach, that for sure has been by far my biggest takeaway, and a learning that I've put into practice and yielded tremendous benefit from.
So Kyle, just to, again, for the layperson, so how does someone who wants to start a business go about finding a mentor or choosing a mentor?
Yeah.
Is that still a fundamental problem, or have you figured out the knack of how to identify a mentor?
Yeah, good question. So what we've done as I guess one point is to create an environment through our series of events that people who are building companies can meet people who have done well for themselves and are interested in meeting people who are building companies. So a really amazing story happened, right? This girl called Felicia, she's building a company called Planting, right? Her company is really based on genealogy and being able to map out your not genealogy, your family history, and be able to map out your family history into this really large tree and tell the stories around your family, which is really amazing. And she came to Tech Beach, and now on her advisory team is a senior executive at LinkedIn, right? That would have never happened under any circumstances in her regular path in Trinidad. And those are the sorts of things that we are able to build through what we're doing with Tech Beach.
So it's like strategic networking then.
Indeed. Because the interesting thing is that what we're doing is nobody comes into our network that doesn't want to connect. And so it doesn't feel forced, because everybody, they open the conversation with, what are you doing? What are you building? How can we get involved? How can I help? you know? And the cool thing about it is that anybody that comes to our events are within 1 or 2 degrees of separation of my co-founder, Kirk Hamilton. He's Jamaican and he's tremendous. He's amazing at networking and being able to open those doors and those connections. And both him and I forge those sorts of networks and are able to personally handpick people that we bring into the space, such that when you come into the space, you come in with a certain vibe and energy and openness, and the hierarchy is extremely low. Even when we brought the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, his team gave us so many restrictions in terms of what questions not to ask and what not to do and that sort of thing. And when Jack got there, I guess, and when he realized the vibe is very much akin to his personality as well, he said, don't worry about that. Like, ask whatever they want to ask, and we'll stay here for an hour or so after and have conversations with everybody. And he was taking questions from people and sharing his email and directing them on how to solve certain problems that they were facing with his platform. And so that there is the essence of the vibe and energy that we're building, whereby we want to make people who are successful in their past more accessible to people who are trying to solve problems within the region in that way.
Kyle, I'm curious. How did you become an entrepreneur? So I knew you were studying aeronautical engineering.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be in space. So what are you doing here?
Well,
The moon was no longer attractive. Like, why did you decide to go into business?
Yeah. So my entire life up until I got my pilot's license, I wanted to be a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I grew up with my dad traveling a lot. He, at that point in time, was a retailer. He used to retail shoes and clothes, and so he had like 5 or 6 clothing stores in Port of Spain. And so I grew up a lot with him traveling a lot and me getting the opportunity as well. I'm one of 5, so I'm the first of 5 kids, and I'm super close to my brother, well, and my sisters as well. But my brother and I, we work together across multiple ventures, and us being close with dad in that way. We always had an understanding and an interest in business in that way, and him sort of like drilling in our brain of looking for opportunities and thinking of how can we add value to the community around us, and understanding as well how he built such genuine relationships with the people that came to the stores, and seeing that and understanding that. I always thought that sometime later in my life, I would do something in that way. But I really loved aircrafts and I really loved planes and I wanted to be a pilot. And so I became a pilot in 2006, right? Flying small aircrafts, right? So you get your private pilot's license. That's the first step, right? And I did it in Trinidad, in this place called Brico, right? Brico Air Services. And after that, I realized I don't want to be a pilot. I have bad ADD and I just thought it would be so boring. I mean, personally, I just couldn't see myself sitting down there for hours on end and flying. I just thought I would just be so bored out of my mind. And so after I got that, and my brother wanted to be a pilot too, so we were real close in so many ways, right? I took him up for his one flight, and because I'm so messed up, and so because I know I didn't want to fly anymore, I took him on a really horrible experience on his first flight. So there's this thing called the stall, right? Whereby you let the plane like feel like it's just falling out of the sky. But I did the stall on like my 4th or 5th flight, and I got like a lot of understanding of what is to come. He was in the backseat in the plane. He didn't know what was coming. Plane feel like it was falling out of the sky.
It's a long time you're wicked.
That was the end of his dream. That was the end of his dream. By the time I got down, he was convinced we're not being pilots. So I went on in school to study aerospace engineering, to design aircrafts. So I didn't want to go to space. I always wanted to design. I always loved aircrafts, right? And then in my first year, I started my first technology company that allows students to buy and sell items from each other and stay up to date with what events are happening around campus. And that website that we built made us about $3,000 to $4,000 a month from it. Yeah, just selling online advertising. Simple. So we sold to the apartment complexes and the bars and the specialty pilot stores Yeah, and it was simple monthly advertising model that they paid us for. And from there is when Twitter and Facebook launched around that same time as well. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do for sure. We gained a lot of notoriety around campus for it. And when I came back home, yeah, started first. And now here I am. The rest is history, as they would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what has been one of your greatest moments so far?
A couple, a lot actually. I've
Yeah.
quite a number of really positive moments. One is when I got that call from Sasha Thompson, asking, "What would you think about digital investing in first?" I was like, "What? You serious?" She's like, "Yes, I just came back from a board meeting with Dennis O'Brien, and he asked about technology companies, and First was the only one that I put forward, and he said, yes, go forward and invest in you guys. And so what do you think?" I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? So yeah, that definitely was one. Another really cool one was I met the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, in a coffee shop downstairs Twitter, and convinced him to come to my conference, which was only a year old, only had maybe just over 100 people the first year, and he'd never been to the Caribbean to do business before. He'd never been to Jamaica in his life. And that singular moment of me having confidence in myself to speak to him and just basically say, was the worst he could say? Was like, no, that's it, or just not come. And so you just throw caution to the wind and put it out there. And spoke to him in that moment in June. And by December, he was on a flight on his private jet, brought 6 of his friends. And he was at my conference that he would have never heard about before.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on some of that courage.
Yeah.
The next time I see somebody that I just want to get something done, just walk up to them, caution to the wind. So I have I guess a tough and personal question to ask you.
Wait, how personal? Pause.
Not very, very.
Uh,
Business personal. Kyle, what advice do you have for other companies who need to make the transition into, technology enabled offerings and services, especially given, the way businesses would have had to change during the pandemic? What kind of advice would you offer them, or guidance?
Yeah. So my thoughts is that, quite frankly, as a region, we've just been moving so slow, man. Unfortunately, we tend to be laggards in so many ways, and it comes from a place of I think it comes largely from a place of fear and just a lack of knowledge. We don't teach technology as part of curriculums in schools, and so unfortunately yet. So if you're learning things to do technology, is because you're studying computer science or software engineering or something. But the reality is that technology is a cross-cutting conversation that impacts every single career path. So like if you're a singer, an artist, you had to know how to leverage social media and leverage different types of technology. If you're even in oil and gas, artificial intelligence is impacting the way in which companies drill and which sites they go after and that sort of thing. And so it's cross-cutting. I think before we've been moving so slowly, and now with COVID, companies are now scrambling to try to figure out what they can do to change up the way they operate to be able to reach their customers in a similar type of way. My advice is go hard with education from the top to the bottom, from your senior executives and understanding how they leverage technology in various verticals of the business. In terms of the teams that are executing, they need to be upskilled. And so you can't expect them to be able to execute in similar ways just from randomly trial and error figuring it out. You need to have a serious learning and development budget that you actively see your teams go from a place of not understanding to a place of really strong implementation. And then the next thing too is that we live in a global village whereby it's so much easier for us to be able to tap into so many skills and resources of people around the world that I don't think enough companies and enough people here locally realize that and tap into it. And so I think it's really important that we begin not only looking at our local teams, but looking at the opportunities globally to be able to tap into the resources around the world to be able to help us with a lot of different projects that leverage very specific technology skills.
Kyle, how do you tap into that?
Yeah. So there are a number of freelance platforms, right? So like Upwork, freelancer.com. So like a number of these major platforms that have highly skilled workers that attach themselves to these platforms and make these platforms provide the nexus between yourself as a company or even as an individual and these super talented individuals. And so we need to be able to understand how to tap into these companies a lot better and leverage the amazing talents that are available globally through these types of platforms.
So as a follow-on question, so let's say I have a skill. Can I also, list my skill on these networks to say, hey, I'm available for...
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
You are VP of sales, get your side hustle going. All right, no, I'm kidding, but...
But yeah, if you're good at a particular thing,
Indeed.
You're saying there are websites where you could go and earn extra income on your time, on your spare time, by marketing and selling your talents or your...
But you say it in terms of spare time, but this can be in reality your main time. And so you being able to service clients all over the world from anywhere, and that's the major trend that has been happening in my generation, where there is this trend of what they call the digital nomad. These people that are able to execute their skills from anywhere around the world and work with tons of clients wherever, and they travel all over the world. So I have so many friends that come to Tech Beach that, oh, where do you live? Oh, well, this month I'm in Jamaica for the month since Tech Beach is here, but I'm going to Poland next month. And I happened to bounce up one of my friends when I was in India last year. We happened to be in the same city, in the same hotel. And she was just in India for like 3 weeks because she was passing through. She wanted to see New Delhi and she wanted to check out the Taj Mahal. And she has a digital marketing agency and she's doing 6 figures annually and she's comfortable, So this is the reality of the world that we live in, that more people within our region and more people locally really need to be able to understand that this is possible and reorient their minds in terms of the people locally, in terms of employees, realize that, hey, this is possible. And in terms of the companies, realize that, hey, we can be tapping into so much more skill beyond what may be available to us here locally, and really chart a new course for us as it relates to technology across various verticals in our business.
Wow. That's an eye-opener, and I could see that being appealing to the millennials, the Gen Zs, but to anybody who just wants that freedom but still be able to work and earn an income from anywhere. I really like that. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
So to wrap up on a lighter note, share something with us that maybe you think we wouldn't know, something about Kyle, the fun Kyle, the person behind the scenes, behind what we see on camera.
I think one cool thing about my personality is that I am willing to travel on the drop of a dime. Like if you said right after this interview, let's go to the airport and pick a place on the planet, I gone. Like I would be gone. And I am able to immerse myself in cultures and be able to meet people so comfortably. Like I'm totally unafraid of being anywhere that doesn't suffer from immense violence. So if you drop me, I've been to Guangzhou, China, Beijing, China, Hong Kong. I've been to New Delhi, India. I've been to Medellin, Colombia. Like it doesn't matter where on this planet I am. I could be by myself traveling. I'll make friends and I'll feel comfortable. Like I'm fine. I'll be fine.
I can't believe that. Okay, thank you so much, Kyle. Very insightful. I learned a lot. I'm going to go check out one of those websites and see what you're talking about. I'm sure our viewers learned a lot as well. So thank you very much.
No problems. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Cheers.